All right, so we had a great news dropping last night that Diabotical 2 is coming up. It's up already, and it's like the marketing and advertising of this game is quite aggressive because we got like big stars streaming the game, and like it's all over in the news on Twitter, like big names from esports talking about it. So I'm gonna talk a little bit with Phaze. You were around the game, right, for the last years, like with the Diabotical one, and now as well, like testing, etc.
Yep, yep,
Or
yep, exactly.
all right, so what did change from the fourth version to now, and why everything you think was so quiet? It's because like Two Good Ones like more like marketing now and like hit it like stronger and make it like unexpected for people, or what's the business idea behind it? What do you think?
Okay, so let's start with the first thing. Obviously, the game has the same name at the front, which is Diabotical.
Mhm.
But the huge difference that makes the this game and the previous one is that this is Diabotical Rogue. This is not a Quake clone. This is not your Diabotical gameplay. This is more of a first-person class based shooter.
Mhm.
So maybe a little bit of Overwatch, maybe a little bit of Apex, but it has roguelike abilities. And roguelike abilities are essentially little cards that you pick up throughout the match that gives you upgrades to your class, that give upgrades to your weapons. There's randomized weapons that you get with the class. You have a
Mhm.
couple of weapons assigned per class, so it's very much like a class-based shooter with roguelike elements.
So
The
the
main
focus,
yeah,
sorry for interrupting. So the main
all
focus
good.
will be team mode, right?
Yeah, the main focus is team modes.
And how
The
many classes are
wipeout.
there? It's like three classes.
There's three classes, and I'm not sure if there's gonna be more. It might be that there might add more in the future,
All
but
right.
currently we have three classes. So we got the typical light class, medium class, and heavy class.
Mhm. All right. That seems great. Do you think like uh, I'm actually shocked by the news because okay, so continue with my follow-up question. Why do you think like what's the business plan behind it? Why do you think it was kept like so quiet?
I can't honestly answer what the business plan is.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what James and the Good Studio have in mind for this game in general.
Mhm.
But in my opinion, there is a big, pop with the rogue-like games.
Mhm.
They're quite relaxing. You don't have to be good at those games. You can just enjoy and relax. And I feel like combining an FPS game with roguelike class system and cards is great fun. It doesn't make the game repetitive because every single time you pick a class or pick a card, it's different. So
Mhm.
it's not always that you're going to play the same character. It's not always going to be, something that you want. And given that it's a roguelike system, sometimes you will get the cards that you want. Sometimes you might get really bad cards and you just have to deal
Mhm.
with what you had, right?
Mhm.
So I think the business model in terms of combining two genres together is great. How is it going to perform? I'm not too sure. I enjoy the game a lot. Like I haven't enjoyed a game like that in quite a while.
Mhm.
But again, that's my personal opinion. But seeing what the big streamers are saying about the game, all I've heard is very positive news.
Mhm.
And another thing that is really cool that people might not notice is when you actually get into the game,
Mhm.
there is something called a hub. So basically, a place before you play any games, you can just chat with players, you can see them running around. And on the billboards, you can actually see how many Weebles have been recruited. Weebles are the players.
Okay.
You can always check the status of how many people actually own the game, which is great.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the old engine, the first from the first Diabotical, right?
Can you say it again? Sorry.
It's the same engine as it was before, right?
Yeah, it's the glitch engine which
Okay.
has been made in house and it's greatly improved. Like a huge improvement on top of what Diabotical was for
Yeah,
sure.
because I'm watching the game and it seems very smooth and it's not lagging, so it seems like that the engine should be good, right?
Yeah, it's very good. It's very customizable. It seems there is a custom map editor as well. It's
hmm
quite easy to use as well. So if people want to dabble into map editing, they can do that as well.
hmm Honestly, I like much more the idea now than what Diabotical Force was, because
Hmm.
what I really didn't like about Diabotical, well, it's hard to actually don't like Diabotical because it was like very similar game to Quake Live, and this is what
Yes,
I didn't agree with because I don't think like copying the game one to one almost, which wasn't in the meta anymore, was like great idea for
hmm,
players and like the whole esport. I mean, this is the whole different subject because let's be honest, you're not really making the game producers not really making that much money on making esport. They actually investing money and they losing money on it. So
exactly.
obviously, if Too Good spent like 10 years of work and he paid his employees and he worked on it, this is the time where he wants to gain back some money. So sell the game, like, maybe sell some in game and then eventually think about the esport. But I think in the Diabotical Force, like, there was like no chance for big esport anyway because it was like too similar game to like Quick Live. And here I think this is gonna be based more on team modes and the abilities and cards, all that stuff. And I think it's very common in new games and it's like and it's must have. We don't. I know there is very stubborn like Quake players who want to have the old Quake. That's why we still have old Quakes. If we have the eager to
Exactly.
play, we can play Quake Live, we can play Quake 2. We can jump back and play on weekends like
Yes.
some other Quake. But this is the meta now, and I think we need to follow the trends and like the new generation, and we want new blood to play the game. And this is what I truly hope for both like Diabotical and Quake because I like the both games. And that's why now I'm much more excited about this game because I feel like it has so much more potential than the Diabotical one, and I'm glad that somebody came up with this idea and remade the game, which was already good with engine, which is the core of the game, and now we got something a little bit different but still in the meta.
Yeah, I think in general is like the way I like to think about this game in general. I think it will do way better than Diabotical, primarily
Mhm,
because it's not quick and it's not Diabotical. Sure, it shares the same maps and assets, but the game is completely different. Doesn't play like arena FPS,
yeah.
and also I feel like it's a gateway for
Mhm,
new players to
mhm,
experience something arena FPS like, but not necessarily be thrown into the wolves den with the Quake movement and the
mhm,
Quake weapons. Obviously, there are some Quake weapons in the game, like rocket launcher, shaft, plasma gun,
mhm,
but that's mostly for the chunk class, which is the tank of the game.
mhm.
So I think it's just a really nice combination of things in terms of gameplay and just the overall design from all the other games. So I
Mhm,
think it's a great move by the good studio, and I
mhm,
hope they can capitalize on that because the game is a lot of fun. Again, team based. At the moment, we have Wipeout game mode,
mhm,
which is what Diabotical had, but this is greatly improved on. What Wipeout is really quick. It's 4v4 team mode where when you kill somebody or when you die yourself, you spawn back into the game, but every
mhm,
single time you die, your respawn timer becomes bigger. So essentially, the game can carry on for quite a lot of rounds, but you obviously have to make sure everybody is on a timer and eliminate the last guy to win the round.
mhm,
Um, and then they also have 16 versus 16 warm up mode, which is essentially huge maps, 16 versus 16 players, and you just pick whatever class you want and just have fun shooting around. So it's like a get to know the game kind of
mhm,
mode.
mhm. Agree, completely agree. And I think even though it's a little bit different than Quake, all the FPS are very similar nowadays, and
Of course.
and they are very easy to adapt, and especially for players who are get used to all those like new style games like Overwatch, Apex, Quake Champions. You can see even CS pros like having no really like trouble playing this game. We see Friberg now like streaming, and I'm showing it on my screen at the moment. I think Get Riot will stream like soon. I see Agent already grinding the game, so I think he will be back on top. And I think we will have some tournaments anyway, because I don't believe we won't have any tournaments. I think we will have some tournaments from the beginning. So it's a great chance for a lot of players from different games, also from some Apex players and etc. So I'm super excited to see that, and I also like that mm, that James is engaging like big names, and we have big names from other games. Like not only Quakers, as we, because like Force Diabotical was promoted only by the Quakers because the game was so similar to Quake. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And here you can have like multiple pros from multiple games. Let's say from Overwatch, like easily we could, because like Overwatch is played by a lot of like ex Quakers. Like I don't know, I
That's
did the
also true.
QD and uh, oh my god, I forgot the
I mean,
names, but there's
AKM, for example.
AKM as well. Yeah, like Wins, like all of those players like were playing like Overwatch. Like other guys from like Apex and UCCS. Now it's like there's more variety of players, and like it can be promoted by bigger group of the people, and we can also see that in media. I think watching Twitter trends and like seeing what people talking about the Diabotical, I think there is much bigger answer now than it was to the first Diabotical. And I think big part of that is as well that it was kind of kept secret,
Yes.
and it's like one big announcement. This is what I
I,
like, and this is what also like a lot of games did. Like there's also not much like rumors about Quake Champions coming up. There was not much rumors about Overwatch, maybe a bit more about Overwatch, but still. So this is what I like about that move.
yeah, I think like in marketing perspective, like from the marketing perspective, is like it's very hard to make a launch like this because you are setting yourself for two things. If you're doing like a shadow launch where you don't really announce anywhere, and then you make one big announcement that the game is out now, that can create kind of big hype because it's like, wow, people haven't been filtered by many different news about, oh, this game is coming out, and they have to wait for a couple of months, and then hype dies out, right?
Hmm.
So when the game actually comes out as a shadow launch, then everybody talks about it. Everybody wants to play it. Everybody wants to try it. But it
Hmm.
also can be quite dangerous because if you do a shadow launch, you don't really do a lot of marketing,
Yeah.
which means it could be that a lot of people might not hear about the game. But so
Hmm.
far, it seems like all the big guys, all the big streamers, you got Mendo, you got Friberg, you got Get Right,
Hmm.
you even had Myth. I don't know if you know Myth,
Yeah.
but he
Yeah.
was, yeah. So he was streaming the game yesterday on YouTube. He's
All
got a
right.
huge YouTube channel.
All right.
So he enjoyed it as well. So it's great to see all those, like you said, all those personalities being involved with streaming the game. And I feel like this game is like like what I mentioned before is the gateway for a lot of players. It combines many elements from Overwatch, Apex, and some other games, which is great because everybody can find themselves in the game and their own play style.
Hmm. Exactly. I'm super excited. Do you have like I think they should also keep the momentum. So I guess they have planned for that. As you said, if you're announcing something like straight away and like there was no rumors before that, and it's very hard to like keep marketing it like further and like keep the momentum. So that's great that so many players are engaged, and I think there will
Yeah.
be more Quakers actually like jumping on the game. There's like a lot of things going on lately with like FPS kind of Quake-ish games because we got
Mhm.
this 2v2 going on. There is like CIS, like whole scene of Quake is like playing their own tournament. Like Cooler is streaming every single night and he gets like crazy viewers.
Yeah.
So I wish like he could like transform maybe some people towards like the Diabotical now. That would be great as well. And we got agent streaming now already. So do
Yeah.
you have any expectations already for some future esports, or do you think it's way too early to think about that?
Um, Actually, before that, one thing I wanted to mention
Yeah.
that we haven't mentioned before is that the game is actually now available on Steam
Yep.
as well as
Yeah.
Epic
Yeah.
Games,
Yeah.
which is also huge. Two different platforms that you're not, limited to what you can pick, which is
Exactly.
great.
Hmm.
When it comes to esports in general, I feel like the game should naturally grow into a bigger player base, which it is right now. And I
Hmm.
feel like the guys should follow it quite closely, what people think of the game,
Hmm.
improve the game, work on the class system, on the card system and roguelike abilities, and then perhaps think about esports. I think in general, esports, at least in my opinion, should be probably one of the last things that should be on their minds. They should, make sure that the game is in
Mhm.
a great state for everybody to enjoy, and then you can think about creating esports and carrying on that momentum from what you already have.
Exactly, I completely agree, and I think that's the right way to do. You never want to start your game with like esports first, like same as Quake Champions did, same as
Yeah,
Diabotical Force did actually, because they also came up with the esports plan. First of
yeah,
all, I think first you need to grow the player base, and the esport will come naturally. Sponsors and investors will come naturally, and like offers will come naturally. Um,
exactly.
Also, yeah, mentioning that it's on Steam, it's great news, especially like, I think Diabotical Force had trouble to get on Steam because of
Uh,
like some reasons,
yeah.
but still I really like it, and I like that the game is not free to play. You still need to pay a little bit of money, right? Which is I
Yeah,
which is
it's
I
at the moment
which
14 euros, I believe,
which
on
is
Epic.
really good,
Sorry, on Steam.
which is really good in my opinion, because I really think if you want to have more producers like GD Studio, these guys need to actually get something back from it, and they need to
Of
have
course.
some financial support to like to support the whole like GD studio and the team, and the guys who like work on the game itself, for the employees who actually work on the game, because everything is in their hands now, and hopefully they will follow the trends, and they will follow the voice of the community, and they will also give some community some opportunity and some impact on the game, because I think that's the key as well to all the games
Yeah,
nowadays.
exactly. And to keep in mind, the game is early access. I know that word scares a lot of people. Is like, oh, another incomplete, unfinished game. But genuinely, Diabotical Rogue is in a really good state right now in terms
Mhm,
of being able to actually play it. Um, Again, 14 euros for early access game is actually not a lot. A lot of early access games come out at like around 25 euros to 30 euros mark. Like even our game that we work on at the moment, like our game came out at 30 euro mark and people were happy with it because it's
mhm,
early access.
mhm,
So I think 14 euros it's great. And like you said it yourself, the studio needs to support itself. James needs to pay his employers, and
mhm,
having a game like Diabotical, like the first one, you know, it's hard to maintain support for your dev team and all the artists that you have hired, because ultimately you got a big company. I mean, I'm not sure if it's big or medium or
mhm.
small, but at the end of the day, you have to support your employees. And if too good, the good studio would make another Diabotical clone or like Quake clone, then it's just not feasible. Unfortunately, that kind of gameplay is not going to make you money. Let's be
Yep,
honest.
yep.
Unless somebody comes up with some crazy idea
Mhm,
for Quake, then it won't make any money, and that means the company's losing on money.
mhm,
You can't really pay your employees. So I think in general, this is the best of the both worlds. We get a good game. The guys get money for the game. They can carry on improving the game. Everybody gets paid, and I
mhm,
feel
mhm.
like this is the right moment to release the game like this.
All right, all right, Face. I appreciate you jumping on this fast video, because I wanted to record something like when the news is out, right?
Of course.
And you know much more than me about the game. And do you think we should add something for the people? I think we mentioned everything like what is important, right, about the game at the moment.
I think so. Just once again, this is Diabotical Rogue, not
Mhm.
Diabotical. Steam Store, Epic Store. You can play anywhere. There's cross-platform, so even if you're playing on Epic, you will play versus people on Steam. So the world is your oyster. You can pick the platform of your choosing.
Exactly, guys. If you are a big fan of the FPS, just give it a try. Doesn't matter if you like Quake or if you like Diabotical, Overwatch, Apex, anything. I think you should give it a try. And buying the game, like playing, trying it out, giving some feedback, or even commenting under this video or under any other video about the game, it gives us some reach. And I'm big supporter of every FPS game basically. Even though I'm harsh sometimes on some of the games, it's just because I really want the good for the game, and like I'm getting mad that FPS is slowly dying, and I don't want that. I want like FPS to improve because that's the only type of the game I'm actually playing. Like many people ask me if I play any other games, like for example FIFA or Xbox, PlayStation. No, never. I just play FPS games because this is what I love and I want it to see improve. So comment, like, and let us know what you think about the game. If you play the game or if you watch the game, you can also start watching the game on Twitch. A lot of like good names are streaming, so you can get familiar with the game and let us know what you think. And thank you, Face, again for coming in.
Of course, and I'll also be streaming. I'm gonna get back into streaming the game, so it's gonna
That's
be a lot
great.
of fun.
Then visit
And
Face as
yeah,
well.
thank you. Little shout out to myself.
Subscribe to his channel, support him,
Sweet.
and thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, see you guys.
See you guys. We'll see you in the next one.